I watched them from the corner of the lavish restaurant, swirling the whiskey in my glass. They laughed, oblivious to the storm about to consume them. My former boss, Robert Carter, confident, powerful, untouchable. And beside him, the woman I once called my wife, Claire, leaning into him like she had never loved another. My pulse was steady. My mind was clear. They had taken everything from me. Now, I would take everything from them. I was once a loyal man. A devoted husband. A dedicated employee. I had built my life around trust, around the belief that if you worked hard, you earned your place in the world. Robert Carter was the CEO of Carter Holdings, the company I had poured my soul into. He was my mentor. My friend. And Claire, my wife of 7 years, was the woman I built my dreams around. Then, in a single moment, it all unraveled. Betrayal isn't loud. It's quiet. It whispers behind closed doors, in stolen glances, in hidden accounts. By the time I saw the truth, it was already too late. My wife had been sleeping with Robert for months. My promotion, the one I had worked for, had been stolen. And then came the final blow, a fraudulent scandal, one they pinned on me. They took my job. My money. My reputation. And when I looked to Claire for support, she stood beside Robert, smiling. The world turned its back on me. The headlines branded me a thief, a fraud. My accounts were frozen. My home was seized. And Claire? She filed for divorce and walked away with half of what little I had left. I spent a year in hell. A man without a name, without a future. But in the darkness, something inside me changed. The fire of revenge isn't born from rage, it's born from clarity. I knew what had to be done. I disappeared. And while the world moved on, I rebuilt myself. I clawed my way back, step by step. New identity. New allies. Ruthless investments that turned thousands into millions, millions into billions. I learned the game, the real game, the one Carter had played so well. And when the time was right, I returned. Not as a broken man. As their reckoning. Carter Holdings was expanding. They had their sights set on a new merger, one that would make them untouchable. But what they didn't know was that I had spent years positioning myself in the shadows, acquiring the right companies, pulling the right strings. I had become their biggest investor. Their unseen puppet master. Claire had settled into her role as Robert's trophy. She wore diamonds now, drove expensive cars, flaunted the wealth she helped steal from me. But there was one thing money couldn't buy: security. I started with whispers. A leak in the media, a minor financial discrepancy in Carter Holdings. Nothing too damaging, just enough to plant the seed of doubt. Investors hesitated. Stocks wavered. Robert dismissed it. Then came the private investigator's report. Delivered straight to Claire's hands, filled with photos, transactions, evidence of Robert's newest mistress. A younger woman. One who had taken Claire's place before she even realized it. The cracks had begun to form. The real game started with the merger. At the final signing, a last-minute investor swept in, buying the controlling stake in the new company. Me. The look on Robert's face when I walked into that boardroom was almost worth the years of waiting. He went pale, eyes widening as he pieced it together. I could see the calculations running through his mind. How? Why? But he said nothing. Not yet. The board members welcomed me as the new majority shareholder. And with a single stroke of my pen, I dismantled the deal he had spent years building. Panic set in. The media got wind of it. Carter Holdings stock plummeted overnight. Employees began whispering about instability. Robert tried to salvage it. He reached out to investors, but doors started closing. Because I owned them now. Meanwhile, Claire's world crumbled. She confronted Robert in their penthouse, screaming about betrayal. And for the first time, she felt what I had felt years ago: disposable. Robert was desperate now. He called an emergency press conference to reassure the public, to prove he was still in control. That's when I made my next move. During his speech, breaking news flashed across every major network: an exclusive expose on corporate fraud within Carter Holdings. Bank records. Embezzlement. A carefully orchestrated financial scandal. The same game he had played on me. Only this time, the evidence was real. The authorities moved fast. Robert was escorted out of his own press conference in handcuffs. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. And the world watched as the once mighty titan fell. Claire tried to salvage herself. She ran to their accounts, their assets, only to find them frozen. Because when I destroyed Robert, I made sure to destroy her, too. Everything they had stolen from me gone. A week later, I visited Robert in his prison cell. He was no longer the arrogant CEO. His suit was replaced with an orange jumpsuit, his hair disheveled, his eyes hollow. He glared at me through the glass, hatred burning in his gaze. "You planned this," he said, voice hoarse. I leaned forward. "I built this." He tried to threaten, to bargain. But there was nothing left to give. No money. No power. Just a broken man sitting in the ruins of his empire. As I stood to leave, he finally asked, voice barely a whisper, "Why?" I met his eyes. Cold. Unforgiving. "Because you took everything from me," I said. "And now, I've taken everything from you." Claire spiraled. She was seen leaving the city, desperate and alone, no longer the queen she once was. Robert's name became a cautionary tale in the corporate world: a man who flew too close to the sun and burned. And me? I walked away, victorious. Not because of money. Not because of power. But because justice had been served. They had made one mistake. They thought I would stay broken. But a man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous man of all. They say revenge is best served cold. But the real satisfaction? Watching them choke on every bite while you walk away, untouchable.